All right, welcome to your Unit 5 study guide on covalent bonding. This video will be just page 1, the next video will be page 2, the third video will be page 3, and the last video will be page 4. So, number 1, it says to write a brief description of why the following two molecules smell differently. So we've got the pineapple smell and we've got the sweaty gym sock smell. Both of them, please notice, have the same molecular formula. But what do you notice about the structural formula? The structural formula is different. The thing that will actually help you on this one will be this lab about making sense. This is pointing target 5.1. But the other thing that will also help you is the honk 1, 2, 3, 4 notes. Know that mine are not as detailed as yours. And when you look at isomers and you look at then orientation, those parts will give you some information about why these two smell differently. So one thing you could write that pineapple and sweaty gym sock smell differently because why? You could be really detailed in this, or you could be really pretty straightforward. I'm going to be fairly straightforward with this, but it's because their structural formula, or you could say their structure, or they're put together differently. They are different. Please notice how the pineapple smell has these double bonded O and OH. That double bonded O and the O here is going to be in a different spot than it is over here. All right, so that would be number 1. Excuse me. So then number 2 says to write a brief summary. I'm going to move you up for just a moment. I have you on a ring stand. So then we've got number 2 here. It says to write a brief summary that provides information about the endocrine disruptors. Suggestions is to include things that are exactly on the same thing as your endocrine disruptor summary. You've written this before. You've already had an introduction to this. This was sometime about 3 weeks ago. So you can use this exact assignment to write the summary. So you can write any of summary of what endocrine disruptors are. For the shortening purposes, I am going to write ED instead of endocrine disruptors each time. So what is an endocrine disruptor? An ED is a molecule that disrupts the normal function. A normal function of a hormone. Where can they be found? They can be found in many places. They can be found in, you can do a long list of them. So they can be found in shampoos, plastics, mattresses, and anything that has a flame retardant on it. So, this is just a couple things that you would find. And then, how do they affect the body? They can cause cancer of reproductive organs, early puberty, have an atypical, which in some medical communities is the better thing to say than abnormal, because atypical, there's a typical sexual development. And there's also a abnormal and atypical. Atypical is more inclusive and more accepting of folks that have a different sexual development. So what can we do to avoid them? We can avoid them by washing our hands more, dusting our homes, can limit our use of plastics, our use, and also certainly becoming aware is the first step, becoming aware of endocrine disruptors. So that would be a very detailed summary. Your summary can be somewhat shorter, but I am expecting it to have answering at least 2 of these 4 questions in your summary. All right, so then we go on to number 3 and number 4. So that's the supporting target. I can use Lewis dots to show a pattern of how valence electrons form covalent bonds, and I can apply the honk 1, 2, 3, 4 rule to predict the diagram of 2D models of various models. So as we are looking, there's a couple different assignments, a couple different things that can help you out. One of them being this one, modeling covalent bonding, that we'll get to in the next page too. So that would be something that could help you. This could also be another assignment that can help you with number 3, especially on number 1 here. Another thing that can really help you is the this assignment that I gave to you as well. So that's certainly a couple of those that can help you out. So then you've got carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine. We need to do the Lewis dot structure. As a reminder, the Lewis dot structure, the Lewis dot structure is only going to be the number of electrons that are going to be in that valence shell. To avoid us having to write this every single time, we can talk about to avoid us having to write that every time, having a Bohr model every time. We can have, we just need to represent those outside electrons because those core electrons are not going to be the ones. So we are not going to draw these Bohr models. We are going to use Lewis dot structures. So looking at the periodic table, coming to this section, we've got carbon, nitrogen, oxygen is fluorine. As a reminder, the way that you find the number of valence electrons that carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and fluorine are going to have is by looking at the group number at the very top here. So this group number will tell you if I cross off that 1, or if I do 14 minus 10, would end up with 4, 5, 6, and 7. So the first thing you do is you draw the symbol. Carbon will have 4. You don't have to draw circles, you can draw dots. I just kind of just happened. I just want to make sure it was really clear on this video. Then we've got nitrogen. Nitrogen has 5 valence electrons. It's again in group 15. Oxygen has 6 valence electrons. It's going to have 6 dots. And fluorine will have 7 dots. So then our question here is huge about, this will help you do all of your bonding, all of your bonds, is how many bonds does each atom need to fulfill the octet rule? So how many bonds does this need in order to have 8 electrons? Remember, oct meaning 8. So in order to get 8 electrons around carbon, carbon will need to have how many bonds? Has 4, so it needs 4 more, so it will need 4 bonds. Nitrogen has 5 valence electrons. It needs how many more to get 8? It needs 3. Oxygen has 6. How many does it need to get then to the 8? It needs to get 2. And fluorine has 7, so fluorine needs 1 more. So if you have further questions on the next 3 pages, watch the next video and hopefully that will help you out. Take care. Bye.